Good afternoon, everyone. It is Saturday, right around 1 o'clock Central here in Dallas. Wanted to get on and do a video that looks at the potential for some pretty significant severe weather around the middle of this next week. It looks like Wednesday will be that initial day, likely starting here in the Southern Plains. This morning, the Storm Prediction Center did move the risk area to include a lot of East and Northeast Texas, including the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. And so I think that's a decent development. It shifted back west a little bit. So I wanted to get on here, look at what the Storm Prediction Center is kind of viewing, look at one of the models to give us an idea of some of the ingredients that are at play. And definitely looks like this could be a relatively significant event, and Wednesday would be February 15th. So not exactly right in the middle of the heart of severe weather season, but I think something that we need to start preparing for, and definitely looks like, in my case, could be a pretty good chase opportunity. So this is a Storm Prediction Center looking at the outlook. Again, it stretches over much of kind of Northeast Texas, Northern Louisiana, a lot of Arkansas as well. And again, this would be Wednesday. Now, when we look at some of the forecast models and why the Storm Prediction Center is really kind of honing in on this, this goes to Wednesday night. And so a couple things that you want to look for when you're forecasting any type of potential of severe weather is really the four criteria that are important to get severe storms. And so really that is, you need to have lift, you need to have moisture, instability, and then shear. So kind of that changing wind with height. Well, I want to look at each of those here. So let's start and look at just kind of overall look for lift in the atmosphere. A lot of times you can go to kind of 500 millibars. And what we can see here is that this flow right here is really showing that there's a pretty big trough that digs into the southwestern US. And then it is going to move really kind of through the area, and especially over the panhandle. Now, typically right where that 500 millibar is not where you get the severe weather, but kind of out ahead of it. And so when you look at kind of this area out ahead, that's typically where you can get enough lift to get that air rising and get that severe weather to form. So definitely looks like from a lift perspective, we have enough there. Now, again, we want to look at moisture. When we look for moisture, we can look at the potential dew points here. Again, this is going to be Wednesday night. And I think what is kind of obvious to see right here is, again, kind of over Northeast Texas specifically, we're seeing some pretty good dew points. GFS here is showing, low to mid 60-degree dew points, really 60s all the way up into southeastern Oklahoma. So pretty decent moisture content, especially for the middle of February here. So again, we've got lift. We have relatively good moisture, especially for February here in Northeast Texas. Now, when we look at the potential for instability, we can go and look at what's called CAPE. And so really that is kind of a measure of instability in the atmosphere. And so again, this is looking at Wednesday night. And what we can see is that kind of across this area of Northeast Texas, I'm not sure why this is not loading here. There we go. Across much of this kind of same area, we've got some pretty decent surface-based CAPE. I mean, this is 2,100 joules per kilogram. That's more than enough to have some pretty significant severe weather. This would be really just south and kind of almost over the DFW Metroplex here. So again, same area, really seeing the signs of having not only the lift, not only the moisture, now we're seeing instability. And then lastly, when we look at the potential shear, one of the things that you can kind of look at is just what's called a point sounding. And so let's say we just click an area here south of DFW, we can pull up a sounding here. And really what we're looking at is a couple different things. This area here, this is what's called a hodograph. So this looks at different points as you move up in the atmosphere and measures not only the wind direction, but also wind speed. And so whenever you see this kind of curved part of the lower level, the lowest, 1, 2 kilometers of a hodograph. This means that there's pretty good turning of wind with height. We can also see here, this is kind of the storm slinky, and we can see how from the surface it kind of goes up and then it starts to curve back. So you get that turning of wind with height, which is important to get those severe thunderstorms to rotate. And then I think the last place that you can certainly look is kind of right in this area here. Again, kind of right here. You can, let me clear that off a little bit and do that again. But if you look kind of right here, this is looking at the really the wind directions. You can see almost the south, almost southeast here. Then as you move up, coming out of the southwest, again, a strong wind there, and then moving kind of more west southwest as you move up in the atmosphere. So certainly all the dynamics at play. We have lift with that big trough really moving through the southwest. We have the moisture, 60, mid 60s degree dew points. We have the instability with that surface base cape values showing, well over 1,000, up over 2,000 for kind of that central Texas, north central Texas area. And then lastly, we have that shear, that changing of wind direction and speed with height that's important to get those updrafts to really start to spin and rotate. So definitely looks like it could be a pretty significant event here, setting up across a lot of North Texas. So things will change here as we get closer, not only from the Storm Prediction Center, but also the models. I wouldn't take anything for gospel here just yet, but I would definitely start making plans, be weather aware as we get into the start of the work week and start to get close to the midweek. Definitely looks like this could be a pretty significant event and really has all hazards possible. There could be hail, certainly could be tornadoes, some pretty significant severe wind, rain as well with any of those storms. So definitely make a plan now, be paying attention. I'll continue to do some update videos as we get closer. So hopefully follow along and hope this video was helpful as we kind of go into the weekend here. So hope everybody's having a good weekend and a good Saturday, and definitely stay tuned for more of these weather updates.